Welcome to Paul Champlina's Talking Property channel. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Paul Champlina Talking Property. I'm on location now in Old Billingsgate at the Landlord Investment Show, and I'm here with Lee Young. Lee, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Lovely
we are
show.
here, part of Elliot Leigh.
Absolutely.
So we've been working with each other for quite a while.
Yep.
Tell the viewers what Elliot Leigh actually do.
So we are one of the oldest and the original guaranteed rent companies. We cover London and the South East, and essentially we do what it says on the tin. We guarantee your rent. We'll take leases. We'll take properties from landlords on long-term leases, 3 to 5 years. We'll guarantee the rent. You have no voids, no eviction worries. There's no maintenance. We take care of everything.
It's all compliant properties.
All compliant properties. Yeah.
So a lot of people, I get right underneath the bonnet. You know what?
Of course.
A lot of people are quite cynical when it comes to guaranteed and rent to rent. Okay. I've dealt the other side of it. What separates you guys at Elliot Leigh compared with the rest?
So essentially, it's just about doing your due diligence, like you would with anything. Look at the company. We've been going 23 years. That's continuous trading.
And you paid out £400 million.
£400 million in guaranteed rent. We've housed probably 50,000 tenants in that time.
Wow.
We're currently looking after about 5,000 tenants across London and the South East.
And how many properties is that roughly?
That's about 1,700 properties.
Wow.
In the ballpark. Yeah, something like that.
And then I can see the map behind you of all the London boroughs. There's 32 London boroughs. How many London boroughs and councils do you work with?
We pretty much hold contracts with nearly all the London boroughs. Probably about 23, 24 we work with on a regular basis. We hold contracts with all those boroughs.
So just breaking it down, because I actually think, bearing in mind I haven't stopped talking about the Renters' Rights Bill all day, every day today, and I've lived and breathed it the last 5-6 years. So basically, the stuff that you do, you get a property from a landlord.
Yep.
You do a 2, 3, 4, 5 year lease.
Yep.
You guarantee the rent. There's no rent arrears. There's no void periods. What about, you've got temporary accommodation people in there. Yep. Some people, there's a stigma. Yep. Landlords think, oh, it's housing benefit tenants, temporary accommodation. How does it compare with regard to a normal tenant and obviously the state of the property?
Well, essentially these are normal tenants. These are people in this day and age who have sort of fallen behind with their mortgages, or they've had to present at the local authority for some help. So we're dealing with, they could be working, their families, and they're just in need of help.
They're working people.
And unfortunately, with the housing crisis that we're in, there's nothing temporary about temporary accommodation. So people can be there for anything up to 5 to 7 years.
And have you had some tenants that have been in for
We've had tenants, and we've had families of tenants that have been with us for a long while.
And of course, the beauty about what you do, providing a social responsibility, because you have obviously a lot of core values that your business does. I've looked that up. Is people in temporary accommodation, they're not in bed sits, right? Essentially, they're not in hotels. They're in proper units,
licensed accommodation. They're sort of self-contained flats or houses that meet the stringent and highest standards that we have to work to.
Do you have a maintenance team?
We have a full in-house maintenance team, about 20 guys, 25 guys out on the road all the time. We have property inspectors, we have welfare officers. We sort of take away the stress from the landlord, certainly, and also from the tenants, we like to think, and we help them as well.
So really the advantage is a landlord doesn't have to self-manage or use a letting agent.
Yep.
And of course they don't have to chase the rent up or be compliant or worry about Section 21 or go to court.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of nervousness out there at the moment with the impending Renters' Rights Bill. We know it's coming in. We pretty much know what it's going to look like. The abolition of Section 21s, everything going periodic. Landlords have been hit with a raft of legislation over the last years. You've got the EPCs coming in and licensing, and now just from this January, something that slipped in under the radar is the councils don't have to go to the Secretary of State for Housing to apply to impose licensing. They could just put them in, so landlords could be in areas where they don't even know that licensing has come in. And the penalties, as you know.
Well, there's rent repayment orders up to 2 years that are going to come in under the Renters' Rights.
It's an absolute minefield out there for landlords at the moment. A lot of nervousness, and I know there's a lot of landlords thinking about exiting the market, but rather than do that, come and talk to a company like us, and there is an alternative.
Fine. So get all that, and I think that's great. But I'm going to again delve back in. You've got a landlord. You've got a guaranteed rent or rent to rent. You have different markets. You have people that will go to property networking and start doing rent to rent. Because I think, don't forget, fixed term tenancies are going to end.
Yes.
So I think that market's going to shrink, isn't it?
Yes.
And you only have 1 month periodic tenancies. So what should a landlord look for when they instruct a guaranteed rent company? Because effectively, you're subletting with a landlord's consent, aren't you?
We are, yes. We we issue the lease to the landlord, and then we sublet.
So give me 5 top tips.
Really, the main thing a landlord needs to look at is their rent going to be paid, and are they dealing with a substantial?
Right. So what do they do?
So what do? They go to company's house. They check the accounts and the records. They check the directors. They check reviews. They check. Really importantly, check with the local authority that they're licensed. Check that they belong to a body, like the property redress scheme.
So so let me ask you this question. I've got a property, let's say in Barnet, where I live.
Yeah.
I'm looking to rent it out.
Yeah.
Do I contact the council to find out if you're a provider? Is that kind of like how it works?
You can contact the council just to get a reference. Do you deal with this company? Are they reputable? You could do that.
Because I think a lot of landlords are cynical, because a lot of landlords might have had problem tenants. They might have had problems with letting agents. And when you do give your property out to a guaranteed rent provider, that landlord loses control. So that's the downside, isn't it? So I'm building up nicely now. So what rents do you pay? So look, rents have gone through the roof. The average rent in London's what, £2,300 a month. How competitive are your rates? Because presumably it's on licence and temporary accommodation, not on LHA, local housing allowance. And obviously the landlord doesn't have to rely on universal credit to be paid directly. So how competitive are the rates?
So we're very near to market rates. So we work on a matrix that's based on local housing allowance plus a subsidy, and we come up with a figure that's quite near to market rates. But obviously, what you need to remember with a company like us, there's no fees, there's no voids. So when you add all that into the package, it comes up really where market rates are.
Right, okay, that's good. So where do you see, when the Renters' Rights Bill comes in the end of the year, whatever, and you're a landlord, you're a portfolio landlord, you've been in this game 23 years or whatever, where do you see the private rental sector market going?
I think it's still going to be there. What I see is there are a lot of landlords exiting the market. I see perhaps a lot of bigger landlords coming in. I see corporate landlords moving into that space. That's where I see it. But I think there's opportunities for landlords as well. There's
add to their portfolio.
To add to their portfolio, because there's landlords exiting. I think there's a glut of properties on the market now where landlords are selling. There is a choice of property. Rates are still relatively low on mortgages. So I think there's opportunities for people to come back into the market.
Definitely. And the people in temporary accommodation that you're placing, have a lot of them been in hotels and stuff, so you're getting them out.
Absolutely.
And a lot of them have had distress in their lives, haven't
Absolutely. You know, every case is different. A lot of them have had distress, and a lot of them are coming from hostels or bed and breakfasts, and so we help them with that transition into their own self-contained units.
And one thing that I do know is you also run a care business, which is really noble.
We do.
Explain what that is.
So basically, local authorities liked what we did with property, and they came to us and said, have you ever thought about doing care? Which we hadn't. We've now put that in place. We've got all the right people in. We're now Ofsted approved, and we now look after about 150 young people in various settings, sort of 24-hour units, self-contained. We offer all the support in-house. We have our own in-house key workers, so we do outreach and work with them and give them support, and our aim is to get them either into employment or education, and it's very, very rewarding.
Yeah, it is rewarding. Well, listen, I appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
I think it's important for the viewers to understand what guaranteed rent is, because we hear it all the time. Guaranteed rent, is it rental insurance? I mean, look, I know from what I do at Landlord Action, which is 25 years old now, we do loads of eviction where we're going after rogue operators, trying to get the properties back. I see nightmare stories, as you well know. I've exposed a lot of rent-to-rent or guaranteed rent providers on the TV programme. I've even been locked in offices where rents haven't been paid over. But no, I really appreciate your time, and hopefully, viewers, you've got some information about what guaranteed rent is. Obviously, I personally think that social housing, temporary accommodation housing, will be an avenue for a lot of traditional landlords without a doubt. Managing a property in 2025 as a landlord is the hardest it's ever been. So I think it's really important that we all talk about due diligence and whatever we need to do. I think that's really important. So if you like this video and the other videos, please subscribe. Subscribe now to Talking Property.